الآن يمكنكم المشاركة في مبادرة الأيام الرقمية تحت شعار انطلق بقوة مع جوجل، والتي يتناول فيها خبراء جوجل عناوين جديدة أسبوعيا مثل السحابيات، مهارات من جوجل، أندرويد، فلتر، ذكاء الآلة، فايربيس، ديزاين ثينكينج، مقسمة إلى دورات وورشات عمل يومية بالإضافة إلى مسابقات أسبوعية. شاهد الأيام الرقمية مباشرة على اليوتيوب وشارك رأيك وأسئلتك مع خبراء جوجل، واحصل على شهادة حضور في كل محاضرة تشترك فيها. هذا وأكثر من الأحد إلى الخميس ابتداء من الساعة 9 بتوقيت دبي عبر الرابط المبين youtube.com/gdgmina.
Hello everyone. السلام عليكم. Before we start, قبل ما نبدأ، أنا اسمي خلدون مظهر، GDSC Lead في الجامعة اللبنانية صنعاء، ومعنا المهندس الدكتور الأستاذ الكريم الفاضل فكري كاسم من نيويورك. أول شيء، الدورة هذه كامل حتكون باللغة الإنجليزية. في احتمال إذا في وقت متبقي وكثير نترجمها ملخص سريع بالعربي في الأخير. Now, let's start. Mr. Fekri Kassem, welcome and thank you very much for joining us.
Assalamu alaikum. No, thank you very much for inviting me to do this. It's really an honor for me to come here and chat with you all and share my humble journey from Yemen all the way to Google. So thank you for inviting me here. And thank you, Brother Khaldun and the entire Google developer group, Mina, for organizing this event. Really, like, just many thanks for all the work that you all do in empowering students in the Middle East and beyond. It's really those small touches in someone else's careers that matter. So you're really, just making lasting impact on someone else's, career. So thank you for doing all this work. So I'm gonna start, by telling you a little bit about myself, how, my career went, how I went from Yemen all the way to Google. And then I'm gonna talk about lessons I learned through the entire journey. And then at the end, I'm gonna kind of share some advice for students who are just at the early stage of their career. I'm gonna start by saying I'm no exception. Like, there is nothing like, genius or something in my career. It's really down to like just working hard. Believe in something that you can do it, and then go for it. So I finished high school in Yemen, and then I came to the U.S. Around 2003 or so, and I came in with like no English, like barely knew a few words, and then I went to college and I took the admission test, and I remember failing like the reading and writing, and then I passed the math test because I knew you didn't need really a lot of English. So it's really a humble journey. I didn't know a lot about computers back then. I went for undergrad thinking that I might be doing something other than computer science, actually. And then I took a computer class in the undergrad at Brooklyn College, and I really loved it. It was like a turning point. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I did a little bit of JavaScript, and you can see with just a small code, you turn some website to like magic and show things. And at that point, I decided to do computer science. After that, I started working as a full-time C++ software engineer for a financial company while going for a master's degree back then. So I was doing a master's degree part-time while doing a full-time, kind of just get a feel of what the real world looks like for us computer science students and professionals. Now the path to Google, Google has always been my, like the landing a job at Google has always been my dream, and always on like in the back of my mind, thinking that that I want to do that, because I've heard a lot about the company search, all of these impact that the company is doing. So I really wanted to do that, but so I had that in mind and kind of like trying my best to go that direction. So the initial go is I tried to, I actually went for an interview and it didn't work well the first time. If you familiar with the if you're familiar with the Google interview process, so basically the process starts with like a phone interview, and then followed by a full rounds of on-site interviews. So I passed the phone interview, the initial phone interview, but I didn't do well on the on-site. But I took that as a learning experience. So I went back and I looked at it and I said, okay, what can I do better to improve on this? And it turned out that like I wanted to focus more on data structure, on algorithms. So if you know, again, I'm gonna talk a little bit about this at the end of the interview, just focusing on like for software engineers, what I think you know their primary goal should be. Um, but Alhamdulillah, after a few tries, it worked out, and I've been now at Google for about 4 years now, a little bit less than 4 years. And I'm currently a senior software engineer working on Google Finance. So if you go to Google today, google.com, and you search for, you know, crypto, Bitcoin price, or even if you do in Arabic, Tadawul, stock exchange, Aramco, the prices that you see there and the charts that you see there for the financial markets are actually my team. We're the back end that powers that. And that's what I'm currently doing at Google. Now a little bit about Google, and you probably already are familiar with like you know the work environment at Google and all that is really a great company to work for. I think over the last 4 years or so, I've grown so much. I've learned so much from like so many people. They're just very smart people who like wants to get things done. They like to share. So those are some of the things that I really like about the company. Just working with you know smart people, great people who really want you to succeed. The other thing that I like is just so many ways to grow. Like I just said, there's like some will establish mentorship program that helps professionals to grow. So you get to talk to very senior people who can like who already have done that, and they can give you some really wise advices on like how to grow. And I can't stress enough how important is like mentorship is. I didn't know about this until I started working for Google. But if you can get a mentor who can like help you see things from a different perspective and guide you through your career is definitely worth it. Um, the other thing I like is really the autonomy at kind of like your job. You really can go find problems, fix them, make things better. You don't have to be told, um, you know, what to do. Just there is a big trust on like you are gonna find things and you're gonna make things better across the board. And then the other thing that I like is there are just so many opportunities beyond um, your responsibility as a software engineer. I go to a lot of volunteer like colleges to do kind of speak to students, help beyond kind of like community contributions beyond like your responsibility as an engineer. Um, I do also technical interviews. I mentor some new hires. So these are really kind of like plus to what you already have, you know, as a software engineer. And people also like, and I like to. This is not the primary reason, but there are a lot of other perks. You know, free food, obviously. There's a gym in the office. And then there are just so many other small perks that will just make your life so much better. Um, so that's the you know what I do at Google and like Google in general. So outside of Google, I have a lot of activities that I do. We have a big software engineers community for focused on like the Yemenis programmers. I do kind of lead that group. Um, so that's one of the things that I do extra. I kind of like just help students with their resumes. and do kind of like help them succeed. And also, I grew also with them because there's always something new to learn from people. Um, Now, I'm going to share just a few lessons that I've learned along the way. The first one is, as you might already know, failing is not a bad thing. If you go for an interview and you get rejected, that's totally fine. First, you're not losing anything because you don't have that job yet. So why, complain about it? But there's the other positive thing about this is that you always gonna get a value out of it. By failing, you can go back and say, okay, what can I do better the next time? It didn't work out this time, but if I just improve and focus what was what was the gap between where I am now and getting that, um, and focus on that, the next time, inshallah, it will just work out. So take it as a learning experience. The other thing that I learned is once you set your mind on something, um, you're very likely going to achieve it. It might take some time and it might take, failing and going back up again, but just mindset. This is what you want to do. Go for it. No question that you will get to it. And the other thing that I want to say is that there are no shortcuts. People, can try to cheat their way through, but it really comes down to like just do it the right way. Kind of just work hard, practice, and I'm gonna talk a little bit more about like just focus on like software engineers in general. What I think is the right way to go about succeeding. But I'll do that at the end of the end of this chat. And the last thing that I want to say is like really invest on yourself. Always continue to grow. We waste a lot of time on like these social networks and like some really things that don't add value. So I would recommend just kind of continue to grow, focus on like things that will add value to your career. And the last thing is, just continue to grow. Reading is really, really a good thing to do. So I recommend just continuing to like read books and kind of just keep up with like everything that is going on, especially for us tech people. Things change so much. So you want to be on top of all of that. Um, and the last thing that I want to say about lesson learned is that their soft skills are so important. You can be a very, very good technical person, but if you don't have a very good soft skills, so I'm talking about leadership, communication skills, working with a team, these are just as important as your technical skills. So I'll say really you need to kind of just get better at this. And the thing is, these are not taught in college. I really had not expect them until I got to work. And then the reality is that you work with people. You will always face problems that you need to kind of lead and try to figure things out yourself. So I would say really try to at least just learn about them. They're not taught in college. You're expected to have them when you actually go for a job or like just succeed in your career in general, not necessarily a job. So I highly recommend just learning about them and how to get better at these. And then the last section that I want to focus on is just advice for students here is always aim high, just set some goals and long term, short term, and say, okay, this is where I want to go in 3 years from now, and now how can I get there? How can I take small steps and try to get to where I want to go? And always ask yourself like, why not? If your dream to work at Google, like why not? Go for it. There's nothing stops you, especially with the current, where we're at now. It really, you can do the same work that I do from anywhere else in the world. So like just aim high, try, and work with small steps toward that. The second thing that I want to do is be proactive. Something that I've seen with students is that they just want or they wait until kind of like they're being asked about something. But try to kind of make things happen. If you need help with something, reach out. There are just so many people who've gone through what you're going through, and they can help you out. And simply just go and, you can just ping someone on LinkedIn. They're like, all right, can you help me with my resume? Can you help me with like a mock interview that I have an interview that's coming up. Can you help me with that? Just being proactive, just push your, it's better to just wait, better than just waiting for things to happen, because it's very likely they won't happen if you don't. And the other thing that I wanted to say is like, persistent is key. You don't want to kind of like, you want to keep going. No matter what is, I've heard people kind of, I'm just so tired of these interview rejections that I'm getting. Just learn, just improve yourself. The next time you go for the next interview, you're hopefully better than the first interview that you went through. So it's really kind of a learning experience. And the more persistent you are, the higher chance that you'll succeed. And the thing is, I know we're in America and it's just so different. Things are so much easier because you've got the companies here. It's so much easier to get it. But believe me, tech companies are so like hunting for talent, and especially with like working from home these days, it's just so much easier to get in like any other time. I promise you, the work that I do from home, the work that everyone, as long as you have a decent internet connection, you should be able to do the same amount of work. You should be able to learn the same set of skills that everyone else in Stanford or any other college might learn, because all of these resources are just online waiting for you to take and learn. And the last thing is really continue to grow. Just keep at it, and always try to be better than what you were on the previous day. That's the way to go about it. And then the last thing that I want to chat about before we open the session for Q&A is that this is really focused for like just advice for software engineers, specifically because I am a software engineer. I've been doing programming for roughly about 15 years or so. So I think what I've seen is that people kind of like try to learn as much as possible, and they focus on like different frameworks and all of these reactive, these are great to learn, but to me the important thing is like the fundamentals, like data structures and algorithms, problem solving. So these are kind of like the fundamentals of like computer science, and if you know them, it doesn't matter what you're going to do when you go for a job. These are important. They'll just enable you to learn, pick up any new framework that you might have to, and in any job. So for example, Google or companies like Google don't require specific knowledge on like some frameworks. The requirement is really to know these fundamentals, because they believe is that if you know the fundamentals of like computer science, data structures, algorithms, problem solving, you'll be able to adapt or just pick any framework or language that you might have to do at work. So I'll really stress that it's so important that you focus on those. And the other thing is, it's really all about practice. The more you practice, the more you do, the easier it gets for you. And really, it's just practice down to just do it. Don't just read about it. Don't just watch a video about it. Do it yourself. Try to do that. And always, like, if you're stuck, or if the problem that you're trying to solve is hard, it really means that you're learning something new. You're going above beyond your comfort zone. If you're just doing something and it's just easy, I know how to solve it, you're not learning something new. So having a hard problem that you're solving, it really is making you grow, making you get better. So it's not a bad thing. And the other thing is, like I said earlier, take things as a learning experience. So if you go for an interview and things didn't work out, say, okay, must must be something that I can improve. Not something wrong, but it's something that I can improve on, and just focus on that. And hopefully, inshallah, the next time you go, you're gonna be better than what you were before, and inshallah, will work out. And I think that's really it. That's all I wanted to say. Like I said, I really appreciate the invitation to this. I'm definitely happy to help. If you want to connect, I think I've shared the LinkedIn link, profile with all of you. Please do connect, and if I can help with anything, feel free to reach out to me. And again, the last thing is I want to say thank you, Khaldun, and the entire team for setting me this up. And I think I'm ready for a Q&A unless you have anything else, Brother Khaldun, on this.
Mr. Fikri, thank you so much. A couple of questions that we got. What exactly, when you say soft skills, are they? What are the most important soft skills that you find?
Sure. Yes. Soft skills. So when you go to college, you study, for example, software engineers, you learn about tech, you learn about programming, specific language, frameworks, and all that. But when you actually go and work in a team, it's just so much different. Um, Technicals are skills are important, but the ability to work with team, you might work with a difficult person in your team. You have to really respect your team members. You have to know like how to interact with people. The other thing is leadership, and this is really really important. A leadership means that when you are assigned a project, it means that you can take it. Someone can trust you to take that and get it done without being told like what you need to do. So you might have to go talk to people, reach out, get help if you need help. Um, you know, come up, define a problem. Takes some leadership to do that. Some leadership skills. So these are some of the soft skills. The other one is, we, especially students, they're surprised when I tell them like we actually spend a lot of time writing documentations at work. Just 30% of my time just writing, especially the more senior you are. Most of your time you really are defining things, writing documents. So communication is very important. Being able to present an idea to someone is very important. These skills are not taught in school, sadly. So, but you have to really be aware of them. And I think some companies, including Google now, do kind of one interview that focuses on these soft skills. They call them behavior. It really varies from like one company to another. Google, it's called Googliness and leadership, or leadership and Googliness. Leadership means what I just said. Googliness means that you're really a nice person that you can work in a team, and be respectful to the other team members. So that's what I mean by soft skills.
There are questions about how to apply to Google. I know that you have history at a beforehand, but what was distinctive or different when you applied to Google? Was it an easy application process, interview process, or are you required to be on site?
I think your kind of voice cut a little bit, so it would be nice if you can just repeat the question, brother. If not, I can try to guess what the question was.
Apologies. Luck would have it that today it is heavily raining, so the internet is a bit disconnecting. What was the application like when you applied to Google and the interview process? Is it very easy or no?
So Application is like everyone else. Actually, someone just shared the right URL. It's careers.google.com. Everyone who wants to apply, they should apply there. Now, was it easier? No, it's really the same for everyone. You apply there, but what I recommend though is, so there are two steps. So the first step is really resume related. You want to really tune your resume. I know it's very hard for students, especially when they don't have the experience yet. They're very early in their career, but there are just so many opportunities to do that for students. So one of the things that you can do is you do your own projects, put them on GitHub. Try to do kind of team projects in college as well. Build a website. It really, this kind of like replaces everything else, your work experience, because as a student it's expected that you don't have a lot of experience, but you can show that you actually qualify for this job. You've done enough coding, you've done enough building, and you can do that by practicing, by building websites, and then include that in your resume. Resume is very, very important. If someone is looking at your resume, that's the only thing they know about you. So you want to really have a good resume when you apply to careers.google.com. And like I said earlier, reach out to people. You might not be good at building resumes, and that's actually a majority of people are not. But there are people who really know how to help you and make your resume stand out. But it should be reflecting real things, things that you've done in the past, competitions that you've done, classes that you've taken. So that's the first step in the interview process, and it's also as important as everything else. So if you that will basically make you go through the initial step, and then once you go, and very likely a recruiter will review your resume, say, yeah, that's actually a good fit for this role that they applied for. A conversation will start with the recruiter to kind of like help them understand where you want to do, what you want to do, and then they will basically set you up. I think we do currently have a screening, like an online test that you have to do. Is very similar to other companies if you've interviewed with other companies, but it's really kind of like a 1-2 technical questions that you have to do, usually timed, which means that once you start, you've got to do them within like 90 minutes or so. That's the initial interview process. That if things go well, the next step will be to have a phone screening interview with some interviewer from Google, who will just, again, very similar format. They'll give you a technical question, and again, here the focus is really on software engineers interview process. Other rules kind of vary, and I honestly I don't know a lot of them, but for software engineers here, so once if the phone interview goes well, then you will have 4 to 5 on-site interviews that you have to do, and the format is very similar. You've got a coding question, 1 or 2 coding questions. That it really the thing that we want to get out of this is like, can you code? Do you know the fundamentals of like computer science, data structures and algorithms? And that's why I've said really earlier, these are the important part of like, you know, the important part for you as a software engineer. Just knowing these will really make you a better engineer and will help you pass these interviews. So it's very likely that you will get 4. I think one of them is, like I said, focuses on soft skills, but the other 3 or 4 are focusing on technicals, and really comes down to like questions like, can you write, can you come up with a solution to a problem that you're given, and then can you write code to do that, to translate that solution to work in code, and that's what the focus of the interview is on. I hope that answers the questions, and the question that you were asking.
Some questions that we got is, what coding language is the best, and what is the market looking for exactly?
Sure. So, like I said earlier, it really your focus should be like on the fundamentals, like data structures and algorithms and problem solving. These are kind of like independent of the language. And at Google, you really there is no required language. You can say, I know JavaScript. I want to be interviewed in JavaScript, but end up doing C++ or something like that in at Google. The important thing is knowing the fundamentals. It was like independent of the language. Now at Google, the primary languages that we use is really C++, Java, Python, and Go. These are like the main languages, though we have code in almost every other language. So we do use a lot of languages, but these are the mainstream languages. So it really depends in, to me, I think pick the language that you're most comfortable with, and use that for like your interview. I happen to love C++ because I've been doing C++ for a very, very long time. But that's like a biased opinion here. Um, but it really, if you focus on the fundamentals and just know them, a language is really just a way to express that. And I think if you have a solid foundation in computer science, learning a language shouldn't be a hard thing to do. Um, I hope that answers the question.
What is the most time wasted thing while learning? So a lot of people, I am one of them, start learning a new language or a new system or anything. It takes, let's say, 1 month to complete the course. I take 1 year. What's the best way to continue and benefit ourselves?
Yeah, I think persistent, just not giving up. I think probably the the focus really should be on like very few things. If you focus on data structures and algorithms and just really get really good at them, then having to spend a lot of time, like I've said, I think I've met a lot, some students who say, I know like, 10 plus frameworks. That, in my opinion, but they lack the good foundation on like computer science and like data structures, algorithms, problem solvings. To me, knowing all these frameworks might not be the right thing to do unless you really have done a good job with like fundamentals, because it's very likely if you're hired at Google, you're very you're going to be part of a team. They're very likely using a very specific framework, like one or two. So why waste your time on like these many frameworks, when you can just focus on like the fundamentals. And I think the other thing that I think people waste their time on or take long time to learn is that when they run to a hard problem, they kind of just give up and kind of just branch to something new, like try to learn something new. And I found myself doing that sometimes. Like, no, this is too much. I want to just pick something else. But that's not really the right approach. If it's hard, means you really need to learn that. It's just something new. You're kind of expanding your comfort zone. Um, so to me, is just like persistent, focused, like just not, if it's hard, then that's a good thing, not a bad thing. And I think that's my advice, though I have, just based on my experience. I think I can definitely relate to all of that. I think there is a
Do
question.
I need a
Good.
do I need a college degree, or can I just drop out of my last term of college and sign up for Google and work there?
Now the question, okay, do you need a college degree to work at Google? The answer is no. Google does not require a college degree. Though the requirement actually, if you go to careers.google.com and you search for a specific role, let's say an entry level software engineer, the requirements is really data structures and algorithms. It means that you've taken those classes. Now, should you drop off from college to pursue that? Maybe not a good idea. I mean, it is. Google might not require a degree, but there are other companies that still think a degree is important. And having a degree is actually a good thing, in my opinion, because it shows that you've done the work, you've accomplished something. So I wouldn't recommend just not doing a degree if you're already doing that. Though if you have a strong background in computer science, and you want to just apply to Google without a degree, go for it, for sure.
So it's a good thing that I'm not going to drop out of college. What personal projects should I work on? Like, I know you mentioned data structures and algorithms, but are there similar, like, front end or back end, or is it based on my experience that I should do a project?
Sure. Yeah. Usually, doing a project, simple, web page might not be, it might not show a lot about your skills. But having a more sophisticated website, like a classical example, a shopping cart, for example, right? When you implement something like that, it really shows that you got to have a front end. You've got to have some kind of database to store the state of the things. You've got to have some back end to kind of talk to and show things, state, and all that. So something that really shows some skill, some difficulty. It's not just a simple, web page. So to me, that's what I think. A good personal project is a project that shows some of your skills, some complexity in the problem you solved. It doesn't have to be very complicated, but it really shows like an end to end of a system. A typical system will usually have some back end, some database like storage, and then a front end. So if you can kind of show that, again, it doesn't have to be that. They're really sometimes like a small tool can be very, very, hard to do and implement. And it shows like very good skills. So to me, that, and another thing that you want to kind of do is to look for something that is going to solve a problem. I know it's hard to do that, but if you have a problem, that you want to solve, if you want to make someone else's life easier by building this, that's even better, because not only you're going to show your skills, but also you're doing an impact with this project as well. The more, if you can build a project that people actually use it and it makes their life easier, that's even way better. And it's going to be really, really, it's going to stand out in your resume, because you're going to say, I built this that solved this. Now X number of users are relying on it on day-to-day basis. So it's I think those are some of the things that you can do.
So it's a good thing that you mentioned solving a problem. And before, you said not to drop out of college, but continue to get your degree. There was a question asking, what was the purpose of the Google developer community? This is a good intersection for me to answer it and to tell everyone that as a Google Developer Student Club lead, it is a great benefit. One of them that I benefited was in getting to meet Mr. Fikri online. You should apply to become a lead at your university. It is a great opportunity. There are many sessions that you can run, workshops. There's also the Solution Challenge. Google sponsors a worldwide event that may help you in your portfolio. You are required to solve one of the UN Sustainability Development Goal. Would be a great project to show Google or any other company that, hey, as Mr. Fikri said, this is a project that I've worked on, and this is what it solved. Now, going back to Google, there is one hat I have always wanted. It's a yellow hat. Do you still have yours? And what was your first day at Google like?
Yes, the Noogler hat. I still have mine. Google is a big company. So when you start at Google, it's not like you go straight to your team, which is like other companies, and pretty likely small companies do that. But at Google, they have a very well established orientation program. So when you join, it's likely that the first month or so you're going through like training. You very likely might not even see your team on the first month or so. So it's really, I think the first week is focuses on like just learning about the company. So it was literally just meeting other people, Nooglers. I think when I joined, there were just like hundreds of people who joined at the same time. Like starting on the same day. So we had like a very large event with a lot of yeah, people who like just trying to onboard us, like just learning about the company, getting us set up, learning about other Nooglers, and then the next 3 weeks you're focusing on like technical based on like your rule. It really kind of a project related things where you kind of work with a team to learn about the developer workflow at Google. There's something called GTI program that is run for new Nooglers. Um, so that's pretty much it. And then I think about a month in, you get to meet your team, and what the hopefully by then you kind of like already familiar with some of the tools and how things work at Google. After that, you're gonna be assigned a mentor and some um, start a project that kind of just help you get a feel of what the team is doing. So it's expected that for the first 6 months or so that you're kind of just ramping up, trying to learn as much as possible, getting familiar with the work, with the team, with the project, with the product. So that's what a typical onboarding to Google looks like today. Are there any questions?
So mentorship is an important thing. We in Yemen face some difficulties in finding mentors. Do you have any advice on the best way to find a mentor? Is it preferable that they have to be next to us in the same country, or can an online mentor work?
Not online mentor just as good as like your local mentor. I think I think like I said, I really believe in the mentorship program. The mentors kind of like already have experience. They already have done what you're trying to accomplish. So they're really important. And I still like until today I have a mentor that I meet with on regular basis. Kind of just discuss my career, long term goals, and short term goals. So I do believe in mentorship. Now, finding mentorship, you're right. You might be hard to do, but feel free to reach out. I think most of it because you don't want to kind of just be proactive and ask for help. There are definitely a lot of programs, actually for Yemen specifically. I'll send you the details later. But we did some mentorship programs for a recoded program that we did, I think, last year. But there are a big community here who already volunteered to do some mentorship, and we have a website. I'll send that to you, and I think you can just request from the site with someone who already like very professionals. They have many years of experience. So I'll send that directly to you, Khaldun. I don't have it at hand with me, but I'm very sure that program exists because I know about it.
Okay. Um, so the question is, does Google give opportunities to hire developers online in Arabic countries? And if so, how can we get that opportunity?
So we definitely have a big Arabic organization at Google, like actually a very well established now with leads and we have offices, I believe, in Dubai and other places in the Middle East. Um, Now, I think it's. I honestly I don't know the answer whether you can like work remotely from your home country. Though what I recommend is that if you go to careers.google.com and you find some rule that you think you're a good fit for, apply and see how it goes. Because I believe Google is really looking for talented people, and I think there might be like a way to make it happen. Just apply and see where it goes. In my opinion, though I don't know the answer to this one, though I can probably reach out internally and get back to you on this. But my recommendation is really go and apply and find out for yourself, because you will get the answer um, regardless.
Apologies, my mistake. I was muted.
No worries.
What skills that any programmer should have other than problem solving?
It's tough. Problem solving is very important because as a programmer, like in your day to day basis, you're really solving problems. Now, let's say you're trying to build a new feature on some website. That's a problem that you need to solve. So it's very important that you have that skill. So I'm gonna assume that you already have the skill, and then you just want some other additional skills. So what I say is, like, again, I said this earlier, it's related to problem solving, like good foundation in computer science and algorithms. Beyond that is really any soft skills. They're just so important, especially as you grow in your career and you go beyond just like your technical skills. As you grow in your career, for example, at Google or anywhere else, um, it's the work that you're gonna do, the impact that you want to do, the more influence on people, the more leadership you can take, the more impact you make. So that's when you really, really need those soft skills, just leadership skills, communication skills, um, you know, writing skills. Surprisingly, you really need those skills to kind of just go beyond like just yourself and make an impact by kind of like leading people, by helping new members of the team, by doing across teams collaborations. That's where soft skills become very, very important, and they're just so important especially when you like grow in your career. For a senior, for example, at Google, for a senior engineer, it's expected that you do a lot of that and less coding. So that's what I think, beyond problem solving skills that you really, really need. And if you can get that head started in college, then you have an advantage. I did not learn about them until I get to work. Um, but here I'm telling you, they're just as important as everything else. Um, so that's my recommendation. Was that the last question, Khaldun?
Thank you so much, Mr. Fikri Kassem. It was a great pleasure having you with us. And thank you for the opportunity to share your LinkedIn with us so that if anyone has some questions, they can connect with you. I do want to add that Google has multiple communities. We have the Google Developer Group, Google Developer Student Clubs, Women Tech Maker, and many others. These are great opportunities for people to network with. There are many programmers there, and the GDSC to become a lead is a great opportunity. I am one of them. We are five in Yemen. We are almost 200 in the MENA region. So hopefully next year we can have 500. So please, everyone apply if you are still a student, as long as you have 1 year left. And Mr. Fikri, thank you so much. It is a great pleasure hearing from you, all of your experience, and learning from you.
Yeah, likewise here. Thank you for the invite. I really just it's an honor for me to share my humble journey here. And as if you get out anything outside of, if you get anything from what I said here, is really a humble journey. It's really there's no exceptional skills, whatever. You really need to kind of just focus, work hard, and you will get there. And I really appreciate what you guys are doing through these programs. It's really, I believe, like this, these small touches on like someone's clear will really change people's lives. So thank you for doing this, and I wish you all the best. And like brother Khaldun said, if I can help with any way, or any I can add any value, please reach out to me. My LinkedIn is shared with everyone. And thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.